Well, it is good to see all of you here today. Man, my heart is overflowing from our Christmas Eve services, and it was amazing experience. So many of you all were here, and I hope that your Christmas was great. You got a chance to celebrate with friends and family, and I hope it was really special. But there is one reason I'm glad that is over is because in our Christmas Eve services, they told me I only had 20 minutes to preach. And I said, well, daggum, well, I'm going to keep it tight. I'm going to handle my assignment, but I'm still in that extra 15 minutes back today, just so you had any question about that. We're going to fill up this whole time today, just so you know. But no, we're excited about what we have a chance to do today, right, this final Sunday before we go into a new year. And so, man, just some thoughts that I want to share with you all today. But what I would love to do is begin with the story, and depending on how far I take it, I might get in trouble. But I have everyone here as witnesses in case I am endangered. But listen, so my wife and I, before we were married, we were dating. And we were at her mother's house, and she sits me down in her mother's house in the living room, the place you don't normally sit, the place that growing up had the plastic covering over the furniture. That's the place. I'm going to try to keep it together today, y'all. But she sat me down, and she said to me, basically, that she wanted to be courted. Now, listen, we had hung out. We had done some things. You know, we would hang out with friends and things of that nature. But she said, no, I need you to court me. I need you to pursue me. We need some intentional dates and experiences together as you are seeking me out. And so she set the standard. And by the way, where are my single ladies at? Any single ladies in the room? I think, okay, listen, I want you to know you better set the standard, because if that man wants you, he's going to rise to that standard. I'm just like, that's not a part of my sermon. That's not in my notes, but I'm just telling you, set the standard. Because what she did was she said, hey, I'm setting the standard. You will court me. You will date me. You will take me out, right? So I had a decision to make. This is going somewhere, I promise y'all. I had a decision to make on what I wanted to do. And so then I went all in, right, to get the girl, right? I went all in, and so we would go on dates, and we'd have all these experiences. And so what would normally happen, I was a teacher, I would come home, and then our turn up started on Fridays. And so we would get together on Fridays, and we'd be together, and then I'm trying to figure out, man, why am I irritated in this moment? There's no reason for me to be irritated, but I would find myself irritated. I'm out. I'm having a great time. I got a beautiful woman next to me. Like, why am I irritated in this moment? And this was before I was as self-aware as I am now. And what I didn't realize is I was an introvert. I didn't even know what that meant at the time, but I didn't get any time to myself. I didn't get any chance to be alone after dealing with them kids all week and trying to teach them algebra and geometry. And so what I didn't know is I didn't get the time that I needed in order for me to be good as we went and to hang out. And so there was something inside of me that was out of alignment, and I was irritable as a result. Another thing that happened as a result of me kind of being all in this moment was we were out it was one Black Friday, as a matter of fact, and I don't know what came over me, but I was led to say, hey, do you know how much all this cost? And as we keep going out and shopping and going out to eat and having all these experiences, and because I funded the turn up, and as I should have, and then she gonna hit me with, am I not worth it, right? I didn't know what to say then, but like, yes, you are worth it. But the reality is, right, there was still something inside of me that's like, yo, this isn't right, because if you want this ring that you want me to put on your finger, then there has to be some level of budget or some intentionality around how we're spending our money. And so all I'm saying is that I went all in to get the girl, and there were some things and some priorities that were kind of set aside in the midst of that, and it kind of messed up some things for me internally. So I say all that to say, sometimes in this season, we're coming out of the holidays. Some of y'all still in it because some of y'all got New Year's plans. Some of y'all said, it's not over yet, Pastor. Okay. But as we're in this season, right, what can happen is we begin to do things that we don't normally do. We're spending time with more people and more family and more friends. We're spending money that we wouldn't normally spend in this way, and our eating habits look different, and there's a lot of things that we would say yes to doing because we chalk it up to this is the holiday season. This is the things that you do. And routines are out of whack. My kids are staying up late. They're waking up late. I'm staying up late, waking up late, watching movies, all kinds of things. All I'm saying is if you stay in this space too long, what can happen is there can be some internal misalignment. It can lead to feelings of stress and anxiety, right? As we are kind of caught up in everything that is involved in the holiday season. And I said, man, what would it be like for us during this time on this day to figure out how to be centered? And so what does it look like for us to be centered? And so I would like to offer this to you. Being centered, living a centered life means to focus your life around a core set of values or priorities. Your decisions and actions are guided by this central point, right? So this is what it means to live a centered life. But the more I thought about it, most of us are already living a centered life, but it doesn't mean our lives are centered around the right thing. And so for me in this season, I was centered around getting the girl, and everything that I was doing, all my actions and all my decisions were guided by me courting Andrea, right? And so in this season, our decisions and our actions sometimes in this season can be guided by the season. And so we're centered on those things, but how can we be recentered? What does it look like to be recentered more on things that matter as we go into this new year? How do we take advantage of this opportunity to look at the things that our lives are centered around as we kind of refocus in and take advantage of this opportunity? So then I asked myself, so what do we center our lives around then as we go into this new year? And so we center our lives around what's most important. And we had a chance in our Christmas Eve services to talk about what's most important is the fact that we have this hope in Jesus and this confidence and assurance of us experiencing his promises fulfilled in our lives. And so that's what we will talk about today. We'll talk about what does it look like for our lives to be centered on God's promises, right? The things that God has promises that we could look forward to happen in the future. So to help us do that, we'll be looking at the book of Hebrews. And the book of Hebrews is written by an unknown author and is written to an unknown group of people. But we know they are Jews, and we know that they are in persecution. We know that they are being imprisoned because of their association with Jesus. And we know that as a result of that, people are walking away from Jesus. They're walking away from the faith. And so the writer of Hebrews is writing to them to encourage them to continue to persevere in the midst of this persecution so that they won't miss out on the reward that awaits those that believe in Jesus. In Hebrews, in chapter 11, sometimes known as the faith chapter, what the writer begins to do is he begins to highlight a lot of the people in the Old Testament that by faith believed in God's promises and they persevered and they experienced God's promises in their lives, right? And so what you have now is, as we come to Hebrews chapter 12, which is our text for today, you have this verse that is really climactic as it really refers to everything that has happened and been said in the beginning of Hebrews until this point, and that is where we find our text today in Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1, where it says this: "Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses," so talking about all the people that the writer referenced in chapter 11, but all the people that by faith believed and endured and received God's promises. So those are the people that he's talking about. "Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us." And so today, I would love to talk to you about 3 steps to living centered on God's promises. 3 steps as we go into this new year, as we take advantage of this opportunity to pause and reflect after this holiday season. 3 steps to living centered on God's promises. And so we look at step 1. Step 1 is identify the race. Identify the race. And we look at this portion of the scripture. We only got one verse today for the most part. We're gonna break it down. There's a lot there. It's a rich text. We're gonna get into it, right? Focusing on the portion that says, "Let us run with endurance the race that is set before us." And so there's the Greek word used for race here has a couple different aspects to its definition that helps us fully understand what the writer was talking about. The first one is this race having an aspect of competing for a prize. I'm going after something, and the prize for the athlete, the prize for one competing, is the thing that is most important. So if we think about that, what is the prize for us then? Think about what we came out of for our Christmas Eve services, talking about the hope that has come. What is your greatest hope that you have in Jesus? Another way to think about it, because we talked about God's promises really being essentially this, that the Lord desires for us to flourish. So another way to say it is this: what are the areas in which you most want to flourish in your life? These are the things that when you are left alone with your thoughts, this is where your mind drifts to. These are the things that when you lay your head down on your pillow at night before you go to sleep, these are the things that you're thinking about. These are the things that you're praying about, right? What is the greatest area you want to flourish in your life? These are the things that if you think about those things long enough, if you spend time meditating on these things long enough, these are the things that will lead you to be emotional. These are the things that will lead you to tears because they are that significant for your life. It could be a season of life that you're in. Maybe it's you being a husband or a wife or a son or a daughter. Maybe it's you being a student. Maybe it's tied to the fact that you have a gift that the Lord has given you and you want to steward that gift well. Maybe it's tied to the fact that you feel a sense of calling on your life and you feel compelled to figure out what does it mean for you to live out this calling the Lord has placed before you. Whatever it is, this in fact is the race. This is the thing. This can be the thing that the Lord has set before you. So that's why step one is to identify the race. And I will say this is the easiest step because we do love to declare God's promises over our lives, don't we? We do love to proclaim our season and our blessing, right? So this is the easy part. Step two may not be as easy. Step two is this, where we have to manage our expectations. We have to manage our expectations. Look at what it says in the text. It says, "Let us run with endurance the race that is set before us." This idea of run means I am going to exert all of my effort. I'm going to give everything that I have. And then you have the race. This race is to endeavor with a grueling struggle to obtain something. It's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a grueling time, a grueling season as you are running your race. And so what the writer of Hebrews is saying is there's an inescapable reality for all of us. And that reality is this, that the journey to experiencing what God has for us will involve grueling struggle that's going to require you to give it all that you have. So there's something that you desire, there's something that you feel like the Lord has promised you in His Word, in His Scripture, maybe through your relationship with Him. Maybe He's spoken to you and you are going to set out to experience that thing and to have that fulfilled in your life. And so you begin to run and you begin to understand that as you do that, man, this is going to be a challenge. This is going to be really hard. This won't be easy at all. And as a matter of fact, it's going to be so hard that in order for me to overcome the challenges that's involved in me running my race, it's going to take everything that I have in order to overcome the challenges. Yeah. The reality is this aspect of me achieving and running this race is going to be hard. So it's going to be hard for me if I want my marriage to thrive. It's going to be hard for me if I want my children to have a great life and for me to parent them well. It's going to be hard for me as I'm trying to discern this calling that I have in my life that has nothing to do with my full-time job. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard as I'm someone where my parents are aging and I'm having to take care of them, but I want to return to them the love that they showed me. It's going to be hard. It's going to be a struggle. And so what the writer of Hebrews is trying to do for these Jewish Christians, he's trying to say to them, hey, man, this is what the journey is going to be like. So I'm helping you manage your expectations. I'm painting a picture so you can know what to expect, so you can gear up for the race. Because if the race is different than what you expect, what can happen is we can say that, hey, this is too much and this is requiring more of me than I want to give, and we forfeit what the Lord has for us. But this idea of that the race is going to be hard, the reality is this, though, it will be worth it. So we have this race is going to be hard, but we don't want to stop it because there's a reality that if we stop it, we're going to forfeit the things that we desire. So listen, I desperately want my children and to set them up well. That's easy race for me to identify. I want them to know the Lord as their Savior. I want them to live a life that where they're not starting behind the starting line. No, I want them to have and to be set up well for life. I want them to grow up healthy and develop healthy and not to have some of the baggage that I had growing up. But that's going to be hard. In my marriage, I wanted to thrive. I wanted for us to grow closer in intimacy and love and genuine friendship with one another. But it's going to be hard. As it relates to this church, I want this church to grow and thrive. I want this church to be filled with people that know what it means to have an intimate relationship with Jesus. I want this church and for the fruit of our ministry to be seen not just in the city of Rockford, but all throughout the world. When it comes to people that are building multi-ethnic communities, and when they say who is doing that well, I want people to say, oh, Forest City Church in Rockford, oh man, they have a thriving multi-ethnic congregation. Then in my flesh, in my carnal man, I'm just letting you know where I'm speaking from when I say this. And then to all the haters, because you do understand that there's people that don't want to see us succeed. To all the haters. No, we're thriving over here. I want to see that. I want that to happen for this church. And that is the race that I'm a part of running. But I'm just saying it will be hard. And so I don't want to forfeit what the Lord has, right? So he's helping us understand and manage our expectations as it relates to what it will require in order for you to run this race. And then there's this third point as we prepare to run. This part in the verse where it says this, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely. So it's this aspect of, okay, I'm going after what the Lord has for me, right? I'm going to run this race. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to exert my effort. I'm going to go through the struggle. But as I do that, what the writer is saying is understand that there may be things that you are carrying that may hinder you as you run this race. And as you feel and identify the things that are hindering you as you run this race, that you will need to shed some things so that you will be able to run the race with endurance and so that you will be able to run the race effectively. But here's the tricky part, because the things that you'll need to shed, the things that you'll need to get rid of, they could be good or bad. They could be right or wrong. And the tricky part is, man, understanding what are the things that I need to shed? What are the things that I need to get off of me so that I can run my race? Because it might be something that's good. It might not be bad, but it may be hindering my race, though. Right, so let's go to Luke chapter 5. We see Jesus doing this so well as he stayed focused on the race, as he stayed focused on what he came to earth to do. And so what you have in Luke chapter 5, Jesus has healed someone of leprosy. And then the word about Jesus travels in the fact that he is healing people. And so here's what Jesus encounters in verse 15, chapter 5. It says this, but now, even more, the report about him went abroad. and great crowds gathered to hear him and to be healed of their infirmities. But he would withdraw to desolate places and pray. So Jesus is healing folks, right? And the word about Jesus and what he does and his ability to heal people is word is getting out. So Jesus, he goes to these places, and because people have seen him and heard about him, they gather to hear him and also to be healed, right? It says great crowds gathered. And then it says, but he would withdraw. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the level of need that must have been staring Jesus right in the face as there are people that are broken with infirmities and that are sick, and they have come to him because they have heard about him. But can you imagine the level of need that he would face in that moment? Can you imagine the level of compassion and empathy that he had to feel for those people that may have traveled a long way in order for them to be healed in their sick and their broken state? Can you imagine for those people pleasers that may be in the room, what it would be like for you to bear the weight of not wanting to disappoint all of those people? But Jesus said, nope, I'm not doing it. He says, I'm going to go because I'm going to go pray. Right? If Jesus was there and he was just a healer, healing all those people, would have been fine, right? But it would have hindered him in what his race was, because Jesus didn't come because he was a healer. No, Jesus came to be a savior. So it wasn't bad that Jesus would have healed those people. If he did, it wouldn't have been bad. It would have been good. People would have been healed. How is that wrong? It's not wrong. But Jesus had to draw the line because he understood that, oh man, if I'm going to heal all these people, then I will never accomplish the thing that I came here to accomplish. I will never finish the race I came here to run. So I have to draw the line in order for me to understand what I have to do that's necessary for me to finish my race. So how focused must Jesus have been in order for him to determine what was appropriate and what was not appropriate in order for him to run his race? So then how focused do we need to be on our race so we can have the ability to know when it's time to draw the line? When there's something that's hindering us from finishing our race. So just to unpack this, I could say more, but I just want to illustrate this so you guys can understand a little bit of how I experience this, right? How I figure out where at what point do I draw the line as I'm focused on my race. And so say that I'm running my race, okay? I've identified what my race is. Could be loving my wife. Ooh, this is heavy. Could be loving my wife. Could be being a father. Could be pastoring this church, staying in the word, preaching on the Sunday and the Tuesday and coming back preaching again on Sunday. Whatever it is, right? Whatever my race is, I'm running because I want that for my life. I'm not going to run. I will run out of stage because am I going to run? Like, what am I going to do? But I'm running I'm in the race. I'm exerting my effort, right? Because I've already calculated what it's going to take for me to achieve the prize. And I'm running, and I'm running, and I'm running. But I realize, like, oh, man, I'm not hitting the mark. I'm not getting any closer to the thing that I desire. So something must be wrong. And so then what it leads me to do is to do a little introspection to see what's really going on. And so I look in here. Uh-oh, watch out. And I'm like, what could it be? What is the thing that is hindering me from running my race? And I don't know, y'all may not be able to see some of these things, but I'm going to tell you what some of these bricks. And so it could be control, this aspect of me needing to control the areas of my life. Me needing to make sure that everything that is happening, that the way that I want it to happen. And so, but the challenge with me focusing on control for me is, and that means I'm only going to have happen what I have the power to make happen. But the reality is what I want to see happen, that's the prize that I want to accomplish, is probably outside of my own power. But because of my need for control, it slows me down. So I got to get rid of that, right? Let's see. Then there's this aspect of maybe it's my work. Maybe my life is out of balance. And maybe I'm placing too much of a priority on my 9 to 5, on my job, on my career. And it's causing me to neglect other areas of my life. Maybe there is a need for me to place my career, my upward mobility and me being elevated and achieving new heights in my career. Maybe there's room for me to trust the Lord for what he's doing there, but me working too much, it may be slowing me down, or maybe I'm too focused on pleasure and desiring for me to experience pleasure in my life. And sometimes when the Lord may call me to do something, or sometimes the race that I'm running, it causes me to go in one direction, but I'm so tied to me experiencing pleasure in certain things that I can't go and do the things that I want to do. And it's also impacting my heart, and then maybe it has me enslaved and in bondage in some ways that I'm not aware of. So I have to get rid of this pleasure. And maybe this thing as well, maybe it's too much of me seeking my own comfort in this life. And maybe I see the way the things are happening in the world and the culture of society, and it's around me so much. Comfort and that idea is so rampant. The society is so geared towards it. Sometimes I kind of give into it and stuff, but the reality is the race that I'm running, comfort is nowhere a part of that. And so in order for me to really run, I gotta let go of this idea of comfort, right? So I have some things, and also understand that as I'm placing these things, as I'm setting these things, as I'm getting rid of these things, what I'm understanding is that with everything that I release, that's now a new level at which I'm trusting in Jesus. It's another level at which I'm trusting in him to do the thing that I thought this was going to do for me. So I'm diving deeper into my relationship with Jesus. I'm diving deeper into my dependency on him. And so I'm like, all right, I've said some things, Lord. Let me put my backpack back on. Let me continue my journey as I continue to run the race. And so I keep running. I keep journeying. And my eye is on the prize. And I'm still giving it all that I have. But even in that, I'm realizing that it's still not enough. I mean, I've made a few more gains, but it's not going to quite win me the prize. And so I'm realizing that, oh man, there must be something else then, because I'm keeping my eye on the prize. I'm focused on that. That is the thing that I desire the most. That is the thing that I feel like the Lord has placed in front of me and that has for me in my life, but I'm still not getting there. So then I have to say, well, then there must be more. There must be more that I have to shed in order for me to be light enough, in order for me to have greater endurance in my race. And so I got to go back to see what am I carrying that could be hindering me in this race. And so I look at it and I understand like, oh man, like maybe I am me and my sinful nature is hindering me. Maybe it's me and the fact that I haven't given the Lord complete authority in my life, and that is hindering me. Maybe because I'm so focused on me and my selfish ambition and my wants, what I'm doing is I'm actually cutting off the source of all things. I'm actually cutting off the one that can give me the wisdom and the revelation that I need to run my race. And maybe I need to deal with the sin that's inside of me. Maybe I need to understand that the level of my affection on God can be increased. And so maybe I can be the stumbling block, and I continue to go on. And maybe it is my negative thoughts. Maybe I need to understand that there is negative things playing in my head. Everything that I'm telling myself, maybe it's not the truth. Maybe these are lies, and I need the Lord to elevate and reveal to me what's the truth and what's a lie. And that may elevate for me the need for me to be in God's word. And for me to be in scripture so that I can know the difference between what's my thoughts and what's his thoughts. And so it could be my negative thoughts. And maybe it's my identity. Maybe it's the thing that I'm placing my worth in. Maybe it's the thing that I'm placing my security in. Maybe it's the thing that I'm placing my value in. Maybe that's off. Maybe I'm too concerned about what other people think. Maybe this anxiety and this stress that I'm feeling is because I'm placing my identity in things that cannot sustain the weight of who I am. and I understand that my identity should be in him. And in all these areas, as I said these things, I'm trusting the Lord for what he's going to do until I get to the point to where I'm light enough to where I can respond to what the Lord has called me to do. Because the question that one would ask is this: what areas do I want most to flourish? And these aren't it. And I have to keep my eyes focused on the thing that's most important. The thing that I know the Lord has for me that I desire the most. So here's the deal. So what the writer of Hebrews is doing is he's painting a picture for what it looks like for us to be centered on the promises of God. And here in this moment, we have an opportunity as we seek to be recentered. We have an opportunity to know, oh, this may be what it looks like for me in 2025. Because when you fast forward a year from now, you're going to have to ask yourself the question, am I any closer to my prize? Have I traveled any distance closer to what I know the Lord has for me? And this is what it is. And so as we focus on this and as we focus on our race, we have to understand that sometimes that we may be our own stumbling block in this process, right? So real quick, so I love to train. I don't do it as much as I want to now because there's a lot going on at the house, but here's what I've experienced when I've exercised. Sometimes when I've exercised, whatever exercises before me, I understand that me completing the exercise sometimes doesn't have to do with my ability to complete it, meaning my body, but sometimes it depends on me and my willingness to give it all that I can. I could be on the bench press about to get some weight up off my chest, and listen to me now, my body is capable of lifting the weight. Understand what I'm saying? My body is capable of lifting the weight, but depending on where my mindset is about giving all I have to lifting the weight, could result in me not lifting the weight. Could result in me not completing the exercise. So what I'm saying is this: we have to be aware of the fact that sometimes when we don't receive the prize, we could be the reason why. And all I'm saying to you is I think about the things that are most important to me. All I'm saying is that I think about the things that I desire the most to flourish in this life. It is unthinkable for me to think the fact that I am the reason that those things didn't happen. Do you understand what it's like for me to really think as the pastor of this church that I may be the stumbling block? I don't want that to happen. So guess what? I'm going to embrace the struggle. I'm going to embrace the challenge because I want to see this church flourish. And you have to think about the same thing. Is it even an option for you not to experience what the Lord has for you? For your family's sake, for your kids' sake, for your marriage's sake, for your future's sake, for your legacy's sake, for your name's sake. Is it even an option? So let's not forsake the race that the Lord has given us. Let's go all in on what the Lord has as we approach 2025. So that we can have and achieve what the Lord has for us.